Hi, I'm Dory, and today I'm going to be giving you a tour of my Inktober sketchbook. This year, I did the Inktober challenge for the very first time in my entire life. I've always shied away from doing ink. I don't know, there's something very intimidating about using ink to me. I shy away from it, I definitely do, because ink is so permanent. Those of you that watch me already, you guys know I've spent the last 2 years very, very focused on perfecting my skills as a portrait artist. And for my portraits, I use graphite. And graphite erases. I make a lot of mistakes, and when I make mistakes, I can erase them and pull them away and keep going, and my drawing is not ruined or tarnished in any way, really. Because graphite is so easy to lift away and take off of the page. But when you use ink, you have to be confident. You have to be so sure that you are making the right line at the right time, and you have to be using the perfect amount of pressure. There's a great deal of confidence required for using ink as a medium, and that's something I don't necessarily have. I get a lot of comments from you guys saying that my art is so good, and you know, whatever. I'm very flattered. I'm so flattered that you guys love my artwork, but at the same time, I don't have that same level of confidence. I look at my stuff and I see nothing but mistakes. So putting those mistakes down in ink just is so terrifying. So I really wanted to do this challenge because it's in a way, it's facing my fear. It's facing my fear of making mistakes and having them visible, and it's also a way to really kind of get used to the medium and build confidence. And honestly, building confidence is something that I really, really needed to do with my artwork, and it's something I was able to accomplish while doing and keeping this journal. So that is the main reason that I wanted to do Inktober this year. The other reason that I really wanted to kind of tackle this challenge is because those of you that do watch me regularly, you know I have a disease that affects my hands. I suffer incredible pain on certain days. I can't hold a pencil. I can't use my hands. I can't have my hands touch anything because the pain is just so severe. All I can do is literally just keep them under a blanket and try to keep them protected because they hurt so bad. So there are days that art is not a possible thing for me to do. And that's been a struggle for me, because when I get these days, when these painful situations hit me and I feel like I can't do my art, it's overwhelming and depressing, and it's kind of hard for me to go back and start doing art again, because there's a sense of hopelessness to it. There's a feeling like my art is pointless because it's being taken away from me, so why bother? Which is silly, and it might not make any sense to you, and I'm probably not phrasing it in the best way possible, but it makes it hard for me to want to do art knowing that there are days that I can't do art. I hope that makes sense. So I wanted to do this challenge because it requires you to create a new work of art every single day for a whole month. And it's not a small month, it's a 31-day month. It's a very long month. So it requires 31 individual pieces of art be created in a very short amount of time. So that really didn't allow me the freedom to feel sorry for myself. I had to keep going. If I missed a day in my art journal because I simply couldn't draw due to pain, I went back the next day and I had to do 2 the next day. So one for the day I missed and one for that day. So it really kind of forced me to have a sense of accountability rather than allowing me the freedom for self-sympathy. And that's kind of a kick in the butt that I really needed. It really did help me get back on the horse, I guess. So I did achieve my goal. I did create 31 pieces of art, and you know, it's a huge accomplishment for me, because not only was I tackling styles that I'm not familiar with, medium that I'm not comfortable with, on paper that I've never used before, which, yes, I wanted it to all be a learning, new experience. So I got toned paper, which I have never used before in my entire life. I've always used white paper. So I was learning new medium, new paper, new, you know, not to feel sorry for myself, not to be afraid to make mistakes. I really learned a lot, plus trying new styles. It's been an amazing month, and I really want to share what I was able to learn with you guys. So let's get started. Okay, so my first 2 pages are just swatches of different markers. I'm actually going to come back and talk a little bit more about that later, but I knew before I even started the journal that I was going to need a page or 2 to experiment with, because like I said, I'm not used to using toned paper. I'm used to using white paper. So I knew that the inks were going to look different on this paper, so this is my swatch page. I am going to place a white page next to each of these pieces of work. One because some of the pages bled through and it's a little distracting to have the back of one page next to it, but also because I really kind of want to show you the tools that I used in each of these papers. So here we go. This is my very first drawing. This is what I drew this on October 1st when I started the journal, and this is done all in black, and I used Faber-Castell Indian ink fine tipped felt tip markers, and these are, you know, basic fine liners, I guess, with Indian ink, and I have had these markers for a really long time. I got these, oh gosh, probably in 2005, 2004 or 2005, because years and years and years ago I wanted to just write my own comic book, and this was the tool that I needed to draw comic book art. So I bought these forever ago and I have not used them since. So these are what I started off with, because these are what I had on hand. I really tried to use extremely high contrast, because using only black and white, you really do have to rely on high contrast to have your image readable in any kind of way. I also wanted to start off right away with a Halloween, creepy, or fall, autumn kind of theme. So I started with Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, because yes, why not? She, I felt, would set the tone for my theme, what I wanted to kind of do with this. So this is obviously very, very different from my normal style of art. You know, it's a far cry from my graphite hyper-realistic portrait art. So it's experimental, it's different, and yet you still can tell who it is. And I'm very proud of it, and I think it really does capture the Halloween theme right away. And I don't know, I love it. Okay, this one I used the black and white here, but I also added these 2 pens to the mix. And these are extremely cheap pens. They're felt tip, made by Papermate. They're basically office supply pens. Papermate colored felt tip marker pens, and yeah, I just basically use them and scribble and you know, I scribbled them on the page to give the impression of color without actually filling in the space with color, because I didn't want it to be solid and I didn't want it to be streaky. But again, this is Beetlejuice, and here we go. Like right away on the second page, I have something that happened that I am incredibly not happy with. I do not like how his face turned out at all. I think it's very, very different from what I had visioned in my head. And because I went in with pens, it wasn't something that I could erase and reconfigure or change. I had to just go with it. So I ended up with a really cool sandworm, and the suit looks cool. And the stripes, you know, really kind of, like, I wanted there to be some kind of cool contrast between these stripes and these stripes. But then you get into his face and it looks ridiculous. So, right away on my second page, I really had to face, I'm going to make mistakes in this sketchbook. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be a beautiful masterpiece work of art every single day. And I'm just going to have to live with that. So right away I had to deal with that. And I think that was probably very good. I was pretty mad about it at the time, because I wasn't, like, when you draw something and you're not happy with it, you just want to crumple it up and throw it away. But instead I have to keep it, and I have to be proud of it, because there are moments of success in it. I just, you know, just cover this up. All right. In this, I am using, these are more Faber-Castell Indian ink felt tip markers, and they are brush tips. And there are various levels of ink, of color. So you can see there's darker grays, there's some lighter grays, but they are all just Indian ink. It's very simple design. I'm not pleased with how the moon turned out in it, and I really had wanted to get more texture into the feathers and the wood, and I didn't go for it. I didn't even attempt to get that texture that I was kind of picturing in my head when I drew this. Like, I didn't even try it, because I got intimidated. Frankly, I got really scared that it was all going to blend together or look muddy, because of my inability to really control the texture the same way that I do with graphite. So this is an example of me being very intimidated by an unfamiliar medium, and so because of that, you get a really smooth looking branch and very bland looking feathers, where I could have gone in and really tried to get some cool textures, and I didn't. So it's a cute little drawing, but it's not what I wanted it to be. So okay, again, using the Faber-Castell Indian ink variations of gray, I tried to come in and I did another little character. I really liked the way that the Elvira Mistress of the Dark turned out, and I thought maybe I could go in with a really, you know, very different kind of style with a big giant head, and kind of go for a chibi look almost, but a real slender body. I just really kind of wanted to marry chibi with Tim Burton's style. So I've got Edward Scissorhands here, looking just adorable, honestly. I'm very pleased with this. I pulled up a lot of different references to make sure I had the buckles and, you know, everything on his suit just right. I wanted his hair to look relatively similar to the way it is in the films. You know, I wanted the scar placement on his face to be accurate. I really did pay a lot of attention to the details in this. But I think I did a really good job. While keeping the details accurate, I still made him very cute. And I do think that this time I went in and I got the texture of the leather and everything in there, and the hair. So I did go in for more texture and for something, and I tried to be a little bit braver with this piece, and as a result, I'm much more happy with it. I'm much more confident. I really do actually really like this one. Here I was getting braver. I was getting a lot braver. Again, this is using the Faber-Castell Indian inks, variations of grays, and you can see I'm using them in a slightly different way. I thought, you know, let me try doing something kind of portrait-y. You know, again, trying to stick with really high contrast, you know, a little bit different than my normal portrait style, but, you know, still try to go in and make it look like somebody. So, I tried, and I was brave, and in that way I'm proud of it, but I'm absolutely not pleased with how it looks overall. I feel like there's a lot of places, if it was graphite, that I would have gone in and erased. There are things that I would have done differently, where if the marker slipped, I was stuck with it. And the shape of the face is not right. The eyes are not even. There are things about it that really bother me. But at the same time, it's very brave. It's really me stepping into ink in a very bold way that I have been terrified of doing. So if you compare my bland little owl, you know, with no texture and very, very light use of these colors, or these shades of gray, you know, you get a very different look here. There's more depth in this piece than this piece. There's more texture in this piece than this piece, and I think it's because I was much braver. And this happened over just a couple of days, so I'm actually very, very proud of the rate at which I was gaining confidence just using and experimenting with these tools. So it was a cool learning experience for sure. Okay, here we've got me sticking with the fall theme, and again, this is done with these markers, these Indian inks, and I really went in and tried to create a lot of depth. I don't think it's actually reading on the camera, but there's lots of levels of shading and color in the stockings, and there's shading in the underside of her leg and under her breasts and in the back of the hat. I mean, it's not just a flat black, which I could have easily done. I did go in and create creases in her dress and things like that. So I'm actually very, very proud. And the way the broom came in, and it's got texture and depth to the bristles. There's texture and depth to her hair, and, you know, and I came in again, learning, trying something different. I gave her freckles, you know, just things that I'm not really confident of, I'm not sure of, and I did experiment and I tried to learn. And this is also the first time that I try a style that I've seen something kind of similar. People on YouTube, on other channels that typically do styles similar to this, more anime or illustrative styles, they like to give like a heavy bold outline just to the outside. And I thought, let me try that out. It looks pretty cool. So I put a bolder outline on the outside, and then there's finer lines in the inside, in the details of her. So there is that also. So this is an experimentation of trying something else that I had seen and never tried to do. So I'm pretty proud. You can see at this point that I am gaining confidence. When you compare this, you know, female figure to this female figure, there's a lot more to this one than this one. So confidence growing. This is one where again, using these markers, my confidence, I don't know, it kind of went back. And I don't know if you can really see it on camera, but you'll be able to see how incredibly streaky and liney these pens are. Because these are Indian ink, and they just don't really lay very well. They're not blendable. There's a lot of markers that exist now that are much nicer than these. But like I said, these are what I had. I've had these forever, and these are what I was using. So I think the fact that it looks so streaky and patchy really made me feel kind of funky about this piece. I wasn't too confident about it, but the character design itself is really cute, and I do like his big shiny eyes. So there is a black cat, sticking with my Halloween creepy fall theme. Okay, so here is one of my favorites. One of my favorites. Okay, so this is Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors, and this is, not only is it one of my favorite movies of all time, and I've been meaning to do fan art of that movie for a while now, but also I am so pleased with how this turned out. I kind of used the streaky, patchy look of these pens to my advantage to create a patchy, you know, veiny look in the leaves and a veiny look in the plant itself. I really kind of tried to use it to my advantage, and I think I did a great job. I also came in, this is the first piece that I came in, and I was like, you know what, just the pens is getting boring. I really want to be able to add some kind of highlight to this. So I didn't have a gel pen. I still don't. I don't have anything to put white down except for a white charcoal pencil, so this is what I used. I used a white sketch pencil, and it is technically a, you know, leaving Inktober a little bit, but because it's not technically ink, but the effect is so cool, and it helped me really see the possibilities that are, you know, and the potential of these pens when used with other things. I think that I learned so much from this particular piece. I'm so proud of it. So I don't regret using the charcoal at all. Okay, again, using the Indian ink grayscale markers. I really wanted to kind of challenge my sense of design. Design is my weakest point as an artist. I really do tend to use references for everything. I have such a hard time drawing or creating without some kind of reference, you know, before I start creating something. So I really just wanted to kind of make something up out of my head and see if I was able to not only do it, but have it somewhat symmetrical, and really challenge my design abilities. You can see right away that the heart point is not centered, so it is right away it's not symmetrical, but I did really go in with the markers and the different grayscales. I used all of the gray that I had available, and I really did put effort into, you know, creating an interesting sugar skull, which I think I did do. So proud of that, at least. Okay, so this one, literally, I think these are my tools here. I came in, if you can see, there's green, very, very light green lines to indicate a hint of color. And I did the same with the dress, and this is the Bride of Frankenstein. So she is a very recognizable, iconic image, but I mean, she's wearing a white dress, and even though I did have my white pen, or my white pencil, I was trying to stick with the Inktober challenge, so I tried to not use the white pencil unless I felt like there was no other way to add to the image. So the white dress and the white streak in the hair and the pale skin, I really just kind of relied on the color in the paper. And this is one that my hand was hurting, and I came back and I drew this image later on a different day, And I rushed through the image. I'm not satisfied with it. I don't feel necessarily very, very proud of this particular image. It's not my favorite. But it does stick with the Inktober challenge, and it does stick with the Halloween-y theme that I was going for. And, you know, it was an image. It was something that was there, so there's that. Okay. So, let's see here. At this point, my Faber-Castell fine liner felt tip markers were dying. They were dying, and I didn't have very much in the name of markers, and I was starting to panic. So my husband very sweetly went out and purchased a variety of Sharpie markers for me. These are very, very different from Indian ink. Very different from Indian ink, and they are definitely interesting to use. They do bleed through the paper a little bit more. They are interesting to use artistically. It's not something that I had ever done before, so using Sharpies, that was a new experience. But that is what I used. I used the Sharpie fine liner, which I actually have fallen in love with. I really, really, really enjoy using this particular pen. Then I have a slightly larger tip on this pen, and then the standard Sharpie for filling spaces like the hair and the skirt. And I drew this little trick-or-treater. I think she's cute. This time I went and used the lines to indicate a hint of color, but I also went and I filled in solid color with this. So you can see the lines indicating color in the solid color, and so I was able to achieve a couple different shades with one pen, which I thought was a pretty cool thing to do. I also went in and I did the net pantyhose effect that I originally did with Elvira, because I liked it so much and I wanted to revisit it, so I didn't just put it here, but I also put it on her gloves as well. So I think she's a cute little style. She, you know, just a little character, and I think the style of her is much more enjoyable than the Bride of Frankenstein that I did, you know, for the day before. I'm actually a little bit more proud of this one. I think she's cute. So, you know, just experimenting with what I can do, you know, getting different shades out of one pen, you know, just kind of stretching into different ideas. And that's what this month was all about, so. Okay, so here we go. This entire drawing is done only in Sharpie fine liner. This is this super, super fine tip Sharpie, and it's scribble art. I really like trying to get away from the little, you know, character, cutesy. I really wanted to do something scary and textured and different. So I came in with my fine liner and I just scribbled. I scribbled and scribbled and scribbled, and this is what happened. I created a pretty cool, creepy zombie. And I'm kind of proud of how I was able to have the skin pulled away, and you can see the bone and the roots of the teeth, and, you know, and the big sore on his nose and his hollowed eyes. I'm pretty pleased with him. I think he's pretty awesome. So, yeah, I think this shows a great deal of depth. It shows a great deal of texture, and considering this was all done with a very single pen of fine liner, I'm pretty proud of it. I think it's pretty awesome. But again, you can really see I'm really, really trying different styles. You know, challenging myself, my style, challenging character. You know, there's a very huge difference. This is very cool and textured, but it's very different from this one, which is also cool and textured. So I feel like I'm really stretching my wings and really trying to fly in a way that I'm not used to flying. So, okay, so this guy is my creepy clown. And let's see, I've got all of my Papermate felt tips in this. I've also got my Sharpie and my fine liner Sharpie. Those are all used in this. Obviously the Sharpie colored in the page. I don't know, I felt like I've done a whole lot of paper with just the beige background. why not really make this guy stand out? Make him look like he's creeping around in the dark, you know? And also, I felt like it was a cool way to really make him look super bright. Because clowns are so bright and so neon and so, you know, colorful. I really wanted him to really glow. And I think I achieved that by giving him this solid black background because, I mean, it's pretty undeniable. He's a bright guy and he's hanging around in the dark and with his little balloon that says kill. So those of you that are familiar with the clown epidemic that's happening right now, that's kind of what inspired this guy. I personally am not afraid of clowns, but there's a thing happening right now where people are dressing up like clowns and hanging around trying to scare other people, and I don't know why. And a lot of people are really freaked out by this clown thing. Yeah, and the place that the clown epidemic started is North Carolina, which happens to be where I live. So the majority of the clown craziness that is happening in the world is actually happening around where I live. So it's a good thing I'm not afraid of clowns. Alright, I really liked the black background, the way it worked with the clown, so I thought I would like to try to make it work with a grayscale picture, because this is all black background with a very colorful image. I wanted to see if it would work with grayscale. So my tools are the Thick Sharpie, my fine liner, my white charcoal pencil, which I did use to add subtle highlights here and there, and I also used my Indian ink grayscale markers for this, and that was to give my alien some depth. I really wanted him to look very smooth. You know, I wanted him to be completely lacking in texture, and I really wanted him to almost be, even though he's in the foreground of the image, I wanted him to be a surprise. Like, the first thing you notice is the black sky and the space, and then you're like, oh my god, there's an alien, like, right in my face. So that's kind of what I was going for, and I think I was semi-successful with that, and I don't know, I really like this piece. I think he came out pretty cool. Alright, so I did all the grayscale. The next day, I really wanted to see what I could do just using the colored pens. So I came in with all of these colored pens and the white. I used white to highlight the interior of the pumpkin skin. But I just wanted to use these and scratch out an image. And I think I actually did create some depth in the stem, a little bit of depth in here. I think you definitely get the idea that it is carved out and that this is the skin of the pumpkin. I think it's definitely a classic image that I went for. I tried to go simple with his carving and, you know, various details, because, you know, I just wanted to see if I could do it, if I could create something that was interesting and had some kind of shape and depth with just these fine tip felt tip markers. And I don't know, there's things about it that I like and there's things that I don't like, but overall it's cool and I learned something from doing it. So mainly that if you're doing a texture that hangs this way, don't color this way, but hey, I learned something, so that's what matters. Okay, alright, so this one is my red pen, my Sharpie fine liner, and this, my charcoal pencil. I was not originally going to use the white pencil, but it adds so much to it that I had to. It's just so cool. Okay, so originally I was just going for a basic tattoo kind of design. I wanted it to be kind of tattoo-y looking, and originally it was just going to be a skull with a snake. And I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if it was something similar to the, you know, the dark mark that they wear in Harry Potter if they're Death Eaters. And that was originally the original design. but when I drew it out, I hated it. So I ended up taking out the snake entirely and putting on a pirate hat and making him really piratey. And I thought, well, you know, pirate tattoos almost always have this cool banner. So I thought, well, I've got to put a really scary word on my banner. And I thought, well, gonorrhea is a pretty scary word, so I put that on there. And honestly, it's because I have a really strange sense of humor. This drawing made me laugh for like 3 days because it's so stupid. It really is so stupid, and I like stupid humor. So again, you can see I created texture simply by going in different directions and cross-hatching and scratching and doing different things with these pens in order to create direction and different, you know, different textures. And I think I did a pretty decent job, especially on the banner. I'm so proud of how the banner turned out and his bandana. The one thing I'm really kicking myself over is I did not give him an eye patch, and I should have. Oh my god, he would have been so cool with an eye patch, and I did not do it. But overall, it's a cool picture, and it makes me laugh. So hopefully you guys don't think I'm crazy for drawing out the gonorrhea pirate tattoo. Alright, so at this point I was kind of getting tired of color, and I wanted to go back. I was just like, okay, this is Inktober, I need to be using ink. So here we are, back again with my Indian ink pens. I've got my Sharpie a little bit in there, and I did use my charcoal pencil just to highlight subtly bits of the feathers and things like that. But this is, I think, one of the coolest pieces that I did the entire month. I love him. I love my raven. I think he's absolutely beautiful. I pulled up probably 1,000 references of various pictures of ravens and crows trying to find the perfect one, and I ended up I never did find one that I liked, so I ended up putting 2 different pictures that I really enjoyed together and creating my own image of the bird. And I think that because I wanted the way his wings were folded and his tail and everything, I wanted this, but the image, the reference that I had pulled up for that had this, the head was looking down and you couldn't see his beak, and it was just really awful. So I put in another one that was taken of the bird from behind, where he was turned and had a snail in his mouth, and I thought I would just combine those 2 and create one image. So I think this really did kind of unintentionally test my design skill and my character design abilities, but it also really pushed texture. And you guys will remember when I was talking about the owl that I did towards the beginning, how I wanted there to be texture in the feathers and how I could have done it. Well, here is another bird that I drew with the same exact markers, the same exact tools. And there's so much more depth. There's so much more interest in the feathers, and it's because here on October 3rd, I was so shy. I was so intimidated. I was so scared of these pens and of making a mistake that I couldn't make myself do it. And here we go, on the 17th, only 14 days later, I'm so brave. I'm so brave and going in and really trying. So I am so proud of myself. I'm so excited that I did this. I mean, because look how much I grew as an artist in just 14 days. I grew so much. I grew from this to this, and I'm so proud of how much more depth and so much more interest this picture has than this picture. So I'm just in this small example alone, I really feel like Inktober was worth it to me. On October 18th, I deviated a little bit from my creepy Halloween-y theme to create a picture. And let me see, I got my fine liner, my Sharpie fine liner, my charcoal white pencil, and my Indian ink wash markers. And I drew a little happy birthday card to myself because October 18th is my birthday. So I drew a little picture, and it's kind of like a very, very cute, very idealized version of myself holding a little present. And yeah, this is just me saying happy birthday to myself. And I think that the texture I created in the dress is super cute. I did manage to create some depth in the hair. These are all things that I was not able to accomplish with previous images of people. I mean, this is so flat compared to this. And like this even, where I'm starting to experiment with texture and depth and color. Using the exact same markers, I was able to create something much more bold and much more interesting. So I'm showing growth over just a few weeks worth of experimentation, and I'm very proud of this. I think it's a super cute little thing. In fact, this is my profile picture on a few of my social medias now, so I really do like it. I think it's adorable. All right, this one. It's very similar to my scribbly zombie because all I used is my fine liner. That's it. My Sharpie fine liner is the only thing I used. But instead of scribbling, I only used tiny, tiny dots. Just it's a style called Pointillism. And it's something that my mom does. Some of you guys might be familiar with this fact that my mom is also an artist. And she specifically loves Pointillism. She absolutely, this is like one of the only styles that she does. And she does it in painting and in drawing. And it takes an enormous amount of time. It is so challenging. And it's something honestly, my mom taught me how to do when I was very young, like elementary school, middle school age, and I haven't done it since because it is so time consuming, and I'm one of those people that have to create. You know, I don't have time to ... So this took forever to me, and it was stressful for how long it took. But I think the overall image is pretty darn cool, and I like how it turned out. And I may go in and do more and create a board underneath or do some kind of background because it does need something else done to it, but I love it. So, okay. All right, on my birthday, I received markers. I received alcohol markers. These are Touch 5 markers, and wow, I mean, it's something that I had never ever tried using. I had never tried using these markers before, and you can see my birthday was 2 days ago, and I didn't even start really experimenting with them until 2 days after I received them, because again, I get very intimidated with mediums that I'm not familiar with, even when I really want them and I'm begging for them and I'm really just excited about them and I want to try them. I get my hands on them and I freeze up and I'm like, oh my god, I don't know what to do with these things. I was super intimidated by these markers because I've seen them used in other in videos on YouTube. And you remember I was talking about how these markers are so streaky and so lined, and they are terrible to use because if you overlap, it's going to show in a dark line. They're not the best for creating art like this that has solid color. Whereas alcohol markers are designed to do that. They're designed to blend. They're designed to fill space without looking streaky. And that's something I really, really, really wanted. So this was my very first attempt to kind of familiarize myself with the alcohol markers. And I thought, what better way to do that than with leaves? So I pulled up two different references, one for, I think this is a maple leaf and this one's an oak leaf, and I pulled these up and I just kind of drew them together, and I decided, well, let me try to make it look like they're sitting on the page. So I gave them a little shadow, and I tried to really make them look as realistic as possible. I really tried to focus on making the colors very true to my references. And this is my first time really kind of stretching back to realism since I started this. All of the rest of this has been very stylistic choices that I've made, whereas this one I was kind of stretching back towards realism, which is my typical style. And I think that it is really awesome. I think it looks really cool. I'm incredibly impressed by these markers, and you will see that I use them pretty much for the rest of the month because I am so impressed and so in love with them. And I think that Inktober really was a blessing because it gave me a chance to familiarize myself with not just ink, but also with alcohol markers, which are ink. They're alcohol ink. But I was able to familiarize myself with so many different things, so many new things, and I think that, you know, my sketchbook, which has been very black and white up until after my birthday, all of a sudden is going to go very, very bright and colorful, so get prepared. Alright, this is my second try using these markers. I did use a variety of the alcohol markers, and this was my first try to make them blend. I also used I can't think of it, my white charcoal, and I used my Sharpie fine liner. So I came in, and you can see I used the white to create a web around him and to kind of put a little bit of highlight on the spider himself, but I think he turned out pretty cool and pretty furry looking, which the reference I pulled up was, again, he was very furry, and I wanted a furry spider, so I think he's pretty darn cool. And it was a fun kind of experiment, something very different from what I normally do. Alright, so I wanted to get back into my character design experiments, leaning away from realism again, and that is what this is. This is Hocus Pocus fan art, and I really just wanted to, I pulled up like so many different references. I wanted to make their costumes very, very similar to what they are in the film. I wanted to include various aspects from the film, like the black flame candle and the black cat, and I was really digging this. I was, really learning a lot about these colors, and remember my swatch page, that's where this really started to go full-fledged when I got these markers. I went crazy with the swatching. Up until then, it was just these, these are the felt tip pens, and these are the grayscale Indian inks, and then all the rest of this is marker. So, yeah, it was kind of crazy. Like, I went in and I really tried to learn about these markers and ways that create shadow and depth, and also try to keep the colors true, try to create patterns like the plaid here, and the lacing of the pattern, the texture in her hair, the lace that she's wearing, the net pantyhose, the shiny leather boot, the torn cloak that she had. I really just wanted to create as much depth and interest as I could in this piece. I did make a mistake. I made a mistake doing this one, and I grabbed the wrong purple. She has this main character here, she has a very, very pale purple just over her eye, and I wanted to give her the eyeshadow. And the one that I grabbed has a very, very light purple cap. But the color that it creates is extremely vivid, bright mauve. So I put the wrong color on her eyelid by mistake, and then I ended up using a blender to try to pull it out, and it didn't come out all the way. So I do have this weird purple on her face, and that is an accident. And like you guys will remember, I'm making mistakes was one of my biggest fears. That's one of the things that intimidates me the most about using ink. It was one of the things that frightened me about doing Inktober, was making errors that would be unerasable, and this one is definitely right there in the middle of her face, in the center character. It's so blatant. And yet the picture still looks kind of cool. So I don't know. I'm still actually proud of it, even though I really screwed up the drawing. I think it still looks cool. Alright, this is trying to get used to my blender. I have an alcohol blender that came with these markers, and I really kind of wanted to see what it was capable of. So I tried using it in order to create texture in the bark of this tree, in order to lift, you know, some color out along the edge of the moon in order to make it look like it was glowing. I tried to do various different things with this blender, and I think some of it was successful and some of it was not. Either way, my tree is super creepy, and I really like this. I think he turned out pretty scary and awesome, and I don't know. I think the most successful part of this is where I use the blender to lift a little bit of color along the edge of the moon in order to give it a luminescent appearance. And I kind of did the same thing along here to make the ground look poisonous or haunted, and I don't know. I think it's neat. All right, going back to character design again. Let's see, we've got this and Sharpie fine liner. Again, this is more alcohol markers, me playing with them, trying to create a leather hat, shiny blades, a shiny pool of blood here, and again, just really trying to create a textured skin, create a texture in the sweater, give him depth, you know, shading along the edges and everything, and still keep him cute, as cute as Freddy Krueger can possibly be. I think he's a successful piece, honestly. I think he's a very successful character design, and I like him. I think he's adorable. I can see him on, like, t-shirts. I'm really proud of him. So yeah, this is definitely me getting very confident and very experimental using, because I think there are 3 or 4 different colors just in his face to create this texture. So, I don't know. I think he's cool. Alright, this is more experimenting with the blender and my alcohol markers. I'm also using my white charcoal pencil in order to add a very bright white on the tips of the flame and on the edge of the candle here. And I really just wanted to, I don't know, capture that creepy candle-lit feeling, something that feels very old and very mysterious and almost magical. So I did limit myself. I only used 2 shades of yellow, 2 shades of orange, a brown, and a black, and that's it. I didn't allow myself any cool colors. I didn't allow anything like that, and I think it came out pretty cool. I am going to hopefully add to my collection where I'm going to have more color and I'll be able to blend a little bit more seamlessly, because obviously the more colors you have, the better your blending is going to look. And there's obviously a gap between my yellows and my oranges, but I think it's awesome. Nonetheless, I think it came out pretty awesome. This is one of the pieces I'm most proud of, and I've actually been contacted by another artist who asked if she could try reproducing this image in a different medium to try to replicate the same style. So I think that's pretty exciting myself. So if she ever does show me what she did with this same basic concept, I'll show you and you guys can compare and see what she did with it. But it's neat that something so simple that I came up with conceptually inspired another artist, and I think that's pretty fun. Alright, you see it's definitely bleeding through here. Let's see, here is my little bat. Those of you guys that watch me already know I absolutely love, love, love bats, and I definitely was not going to do a Halloween theme art challenge without drawing a bat somewhere. And I think he came out pretty fun. I'm glad that I waited to do him until I had color, because I think that the blue and the browns and the fur, and I think it really adds to it. I used the Sharpie fine liner, the charcoal pencil, the white one, and I used a variety of Touch 5 alcohol markers. And this was playing with texture, specifically wanting to get that leathery, stretched, veiny look in his wing, and the furry, fluffy, fuzzy body. That specifically is what I wanted to do. And I also wanted like a misty, smoky, dark background for him to be flying in the sky. So I think I achieved all of those things. I'm not happy with his little face. I think it could have been a little cuter, but I think overall it's a successful drawing. So yay, I'm really proud of him. I think he turned out pretty decent. Okay, let's see here. I had a huge variety of grays, warm grays, cool grays, a large variation of gray scale that came in with these markers. And I decided it would be fun to try to do a piece that was only grays. You'll see that in the end I decided that it did need something else, so I did add this one pop of color with this melon orange color, this like honeydew melon color that I have. But I did successfully create a creature only in grayscale, and the Weeping Angel was it was an obvious choice for me when I decided I wanted to try something just in grayscale marker. I did also use my Sharpie fine liner, obviously. Those of you that are not Whovians are probably wondering why in the heck I drew an angel while following a creepy Halloween theme. But those of you that are Whovians, you already know. And honestly, I'll just say that they're incredibly creepy characters in Doctor Who, and they definitely have a place among the monsters of Halloween, in my opinion. So I do love this pop of color that I did decide to do at the very last minute. I do love that I was able to create texture and depth. I love that you're able to see the shadow under her nose and her chin, behind her hands, that you do definitely get a sense of depth in this character, and I'm proud of him. I'm proud of her. I think she's very scary. Okay, so this is the only drawing that I did not pull up some kind of reference for. I drew completely out of my own brain. I designed it all, myself. I thought to myself, I really should have something vampire related. And what can I do without drawing a vampire? So here is a vampire hunting kit. I've got my rosary, my stake, garlic, holy water, and a Bible. Just kind of laid out. I picked a light direction and I just went with it. I really do feel very proud of this because I was, again, experimenting with texture. I feel like I did capture a bark, woody texture here where it's carved away. You can see the inner wood looks very smooth and sharp. The leathery cover of the Bible does definitely look like leather. The garlic looks very garlicky. The beads look very smooth and shiny. So using the same materials, I do feel like I was able to capture a variety of textures, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I think it's cool. Abby! 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 Come here. You're a good girl. Hey. Abby wanted to say hi. Okay, So again, I'm breaking with the creepy theme because October 29th is my wedding anniversary. So I wanted to draw something related to my family and my husband and our marriage. So in honor of my wedding anniversary, I drew this cute little character design of me and my husband Dre and Abby, who I think is adorable. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on this one. I did post this one on various social medias, and I've gotten a commission out of it. I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback, and my husband even wants me to give it to him so he can frame it and put it on his desk at work because he likes it just that much. So as soon as this is done being filmed, this page is probably going to be removed and framed. So that's, I think, pretty awesome, considering I have, before this month, I was not familiar at all with this media, and for me to suddenly be, getting commissions based on the work that I'm doing with it in my sketchbook, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty exciting, and it really definitely does show that my intimidation that I've been feeling, my fear of using ink, is completely unfounded. I am perfectly and completely capable of using it, and that is exciting. Alright, so the day before Halloween, I decided that it was time to draw a werewolf. I really didn't have much of a goal. This was really just to draw a werewolf because I like werewolves and I think they're interesting and fun, and I kind of based the werewolf on like the furry culture, the furry costumes that you see people wearing. I thought, combine that concept with a werewolf. So he's kind of based on like furry culture a little bit, which I think is an interesting culture. It's not for me, but it definitely is interesting and it's valid, and I don't know. I think it's artistically fascinating. So this was my kind of a nod to that community a little bit, and at the same time, werewolves are awesome. So I'm pretty proud of how I was able to achieve the texture of his fur. I did pull up several references, several photos of various wolves, and the color is definitely based on actual wolves. So it is wolfy colors and textures, and I don't know, pretty proud. I think he's pretty awesome. And then on the actual day of Halloween, October 31st, the last day of Inktober, I wanted to kind of do something a little bit serious. October 31st is a religious holiday for a lot of people, including my family, and I wanted to kind of just do a little nod to that, that religion and that culture, and, just really do a serious tribute to elements and balance and karma and all, the natural world. And so I kind of created my own Celtic knotting with pentagram. So I don't know, I think it turned out very, very pretty. There are a lot of mistakes in it. And if you pay attention, the star is obviously wonky. It's not even, it's obvious I freehanded this. I didn't use any stencils. I didn't use a compass or a ruler or anything. This is all freehand. You'll also see that there are 3 loops, 3 loops, 3 loops, 3 loops, 4 loops. This side has gone crazy. You'll also see some of the colors that I used were a little too dark and blended in with the black, and so some of the knot work is lost. So I don't know. I tried to do something very serious, and it did get lost. A lot of it was lost. A lot of it is mistake, but at the same time, it's still really cool. And I'm still pretty proud of it. Because my intention is there, and overall it's a beautiful design, and it could be refined and perfected. So, improvements could be made. It could be amazing. It's a good first draft, I should say. But I used the fine liner, the Sharpie, alcohol markers, and for the actual star of the pentagram I used this guy here. And that is Inktober. That is all of my progress and all of my learning that I was able to achieve in Inktober. And I think the progress that I made is incredible, myself personally. To go from having absolutely zero confidence, making huge mistakes that really upset me, and I almost stopped Inktober on my second day because the face was so screwed up on Beetlejuice. And then the next day, zero confidence, and no courage at all. Gave me this bland little owl. And then I was able to grow and gain confidence and experiment and learn and try new things. And I mean, I went from, you know, having flat, high contrast to extremely experimental work. So trying with light, playing with texture. I think that I did a great job, and I'd be really interested in hearing what you guys have to say about it. Did any of you do Inktober? Did any of you try something new this month? I would really love to find out what you learned or what you tried. And I want to encourage you guys, never stop learning. Never stop trying. Don't let your fear intimidate you. Don't let, don't be scared to make mistakes, because they're gonna happen regardless. Just do it. And I have a lot of sketchbook left. Like, check it out. There is so many pages left in this sketchbook after this day. I mean, I think I filled up maybe this much of the sketchbook. Let's see. I filled up this much of the sketchbook. That's it. I have so much left. So I'm actually going to keep up with this. I'm not going to do it every day because, oh my gosh, that was a huge undertaking, and I'm simply not capable of it physically with my hands the way they are. But I'm going to try to do at least one a week. And when it's done, I might do another sketchbook tour. If you guys enjoyed this, let me know, and I'll do more sketchbook tours in the future. And thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you all so much. If you like this, give me a thumbs up so I know to do more. Leave me a comment telling me about something different that you tried this month, something new that you learned, or something that you experimented with that you were previously afraid of doing. Tell me about it in the comments below. And if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, you should definitely do that, because if you love art and you've watched this all the way this far, you will definitely enjoy my channel, because I post new art every single Friday. Thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you later. Bye!